One of the programs that is most used around the world for sound design and for composition and for real-time interaction, soundscape composition, probably is Max or Max MSP, sometimes called Max MSP Jitter. This program allows the user to create and design anything you need to do in the operation can be created in this. So it's more of a programming language for musicians than anything else. So it takes a little bit of time to learn it, but it is well worth it because the power you have over anything you want to do in Max is really great. Max was created originally in IRCAM in the Computer Music Research Facility in Paris by Miller Puckett and a number of researchers there. Miller has since created another version which is called Pure Data, which is based on the same idea of Max, which is distributed free. Max is now distributed by this company Cycling 74. So if you have learned Max, then PD or Pure Data is very easy to learn, or vice versa. If you want to download the free version of PD and work on that first, then going to Max would not be very difficult because they use the same philosophy and a lot of the same approaches on that. Because Max has been around a long time and there have been thousands of people and somewhat working on Max, there are many more different patches and routines and bells and whistles perhaps in the software than PD has, but they're both very useful. But I want to take you through and just give you a quick introduction to Max so you understand sort of how this program works if you do want to pursue it. So here you can download the program. There's a cost. I think it's about $250 for a student cost for that, for the whole program. What Max MSP and Jitter, Max was the original version which was just for MIDI objects that did fairly simple kind of MIDI routines back and forth that it would process. Once they added the audio stream of complex data of sampled sounds and so forth, then that was the MSP version. So Max was the original, then it became Max MSP. Then when the video components were added to those objects, then it became the Max MSP Jitter. So today they just call it Max, and it really has all three different versions included in the program. You also see down here in the products Max for Live. Max for Live is a really great set of objects that now work with the Ableton Live program, which I will demonstrate for you a little, later in this series of applications that I'm showing. Because with the combination of Live and Max together, they really are a very powerful, robust, sort of collaborative program that I think many people are finding both of these very useful. And if you do a little bit of Max, you can import those objects into Live and control some of the great real-time components that are in Live that are so attractive to a lot of different people. But being able to use the power of the Max programming and to customize things in your instruments, your audio effects, and so forth is really just a really wonderful combination. So I'm really glad those two companies have worked together on that. So let's go over to Max and give you a quick little demo. So when you open a Max, you will see this kind of Max window. This just kind of shows you everything that's being compiled in that. So if you were to start from scratch, which we don't have to, there are a number of objects that you can go into and really great tutorials. So, but over here, for example, you would start a new patcher and you just get this blank window, and then you see over here, this is just a list of the various objects, and you'll see there are hundreds of objects. Some of these are just for the MIDI control, which would be the Max part of that. Many of them are for audio, which would be then the MSP part, and then anything that involves video would be the jitter, usually a JIT for any object that involves that. So you have to be aware of what kind of object you're using, because you can't send a MIDI information, for example, into a jitter, or you can't send audio into a video, so forth, so forth. So you have to be aware of what you're sending. There are only certain objects that can go between the three different versions there. So, but there are several hundred objects that are really easy to, and all you have to do for these is to just click an object and drag it into your patch. And then if you want to have other kinds of different objects that you pull into here, then the output of that object gets sent into this object. And so it's very easy to start patching things together, as you can see, just by clicking and dragging, and whatever is in this object gets sent to this object, or vice versa. And then if you don't like that, you can move it around and delete, and so forth, so forth. So building up your objects is a matter of just clicking objects into there, dragging them into that, understanding what they do, banging into a number box here. we are not compiled. You'll see down here we lock this to lock the patch, and then we can move things around to send the data out and so forth. If we bang this, you'll see it turn yellow and so forth. So there's a lot of protocols that I won't get into in this program, but this is how you would sort of create a blank patcher and start with, and you would drag whatever objects you need into that, and then just assign the variables to that. Let me close this for a second and maybe go up here to the help. If we go down to the tutorials, this is how often I think people will start this. We're really great tutorials here. And you'll see the table of contents for the tutorials under the MIDI data, so forth, so forth. If we go under here to the MAX tutorials, or MSP, jitter as I described, so this is the ones that are handling just the MIDI data, the basic information of number information for numbers and lists, and adding and subtracting different kind of commands here for keyboard. So here's the information about that tutorial. If you then click on this, it takes you to the particular MAX object which is being described in that tutorial, so they're very easy to use. So for example, if I were to just look at this one, here is an object which starts a metronome, and you can see as I move my mouse around, it tells me the parameters of that. That's what this object is doing, is showing where the mouse is, giving me figures of that, information about that state of the mouse. So if I hit my space key, then you see a key information here, and it prints the key here. You can filter out certain things here. So this is just a simple patch that was created that I just randomly pulled up in the tutorial. If we go back to our tutorials and go into perhaps the MSP, I'll look at some of these here. If I wanted to do a test tone, you would see description of what's going on here, what the thing looks like. Let me move on down to something a little bit more interesting. For example, if we move into frequency modulation, we talked about frequency modulation earlier in this course. So I talked about how do you do a simple FM patch. Here is the patch. So then if you want to open it up, here it is. So what we would do is we would turn on the DSP, and then turn up the volume for this, so that when I set a duration and then play a note, you can hear a short duration there. Make it longer. Now we've got a click going on, so let's set up a carrier frequency. Remember, in our particular FM patch we have a carrier frequency, so that is short duration. Let's make it a little bit longer. Remember, these are in milliseconds here. Turn a little bit louder. Make it a little higher frequency. Okay, so now if I want to add, make this even longer. There we go. So you can add harmonicity, the modulation index. Remember, we did this had to do with the control oscillators. Hard to sort of tell a little bit what's going on here, but when I do that and then add some of the harmonicity to that, we can now start to see some of the sidebands being created in our FM patch. Turn the volume a little bit here. So you can see a very simple way to do FM synthesis here. If I unlock this patch, then I can edit any of these variables, move them around, reassign them, add in other kinds of objects, open up my sidebar here if I want to add in other kind of objects here, another function, breakpoint function generator, I could add in here, patch that into somewhere else. So any kind of objects I want to add in here are easily brought in. So then we'll lock that again, and then so there I just added in a spectroscope so we can actually see what kind of overtones are emerging from that one. So all different kind of things you can do very quickly in creating patches in MAX. So you can see MAX is a very robust program, and there's just almost unlimited things you can do in this. Just very quickly, let me just take you to a patch. This is one that, oh, that's not it, sorry. Go back over here, and let me take you to, this is a patch, show you a little bit more complicated patch that was for a composition that I did. This is a real-time control patch that was used in a composition of mine recently. And what this has is it has a number of different kind of effects processors down here. Each of these areas here are effects processors. There are variables on those. So up here what is happening is they're being turned on by different points in the piece. Testing 1, 2. You can see here testing 1, 2, testing 1, 2, testing 1, 2. So that's the harmonizer. Testing 1, 2. I can change the transpositions of that. Testing 1, 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. So I can clear these. Try some of these other ones. Testing 1, 2. Testing. Okay. Good. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Good. All right. Stopping. Okay. Starting that. All right. Just playing around here. If I go to sustain and click on record. Okay. Record again. So you can start to hear any of these things turn on. One, two. So all I'm doing is turning on the various kinds of effects processors that are included in this. So this one and one, I can open up those to sort of see what's inside. Let me turn that off so you can hear what I'm saying. So if I open up each of these, you'll see these are coming from, many of these are from Earcom. There's the harmonizer I was going to show you a second ago. Let me turn that back on. Let's see, get the harmonizer on. There we go. So you'll see when I turn the harmonizer on, test, 1, 2. Then these variables, 1, 2, test, 1, 2, test, 1, test, 1, 2, test, 1, 2. 1, 2, test, 1, 2, test, 1, 2. So, this is a control variable. So I had maybe 12 or 13 different effects processing that were being turned on or off according to certain parameters throughout a composition of mine. So this is a little bit more complicated, but there are lots of sub patches here that you're seeing where things are being processed throughout the piece here. Just turning on a few of these so you can sort of see some of the ones that I would pull into this particular patch. So your patches can get more complicated or simple patches and very easy to manipulate. So that's Max MSP. Hopefully you'll have a interest in taking a look at this and going into here the people who are developing it or contributed to it. A lot of people in University of California are still developing this at UC San Diego and at Berkeley, and it's really all over the world. There are people utilizing this now and contributing to it. So it's worth pursuing. All right, that's Max MSP.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.